Why do we volunteer?
Volunteering encourages civic responsibility. I volunteer because I want to be present and let people have the option to reach out when they need to.
I volunteer because I love helping others and get such joy out of making an impact in somebody's day.
Volunteering enriches the community. It's an empowerment to one's life and an enrichment to make living even better.
We have been working on establishing the largest Confucius Institute in the world.
中共在1年之中就会出10几亿人民币撒到国际社会。
We received about $1 million worth of books and materials.
If you are capable to open those Confucius Institute around the world, you have an influence. You have a way in.
孔子学院很多人都在问我，你是这个软实力的重要组成部分什么的，因为我们想扩大我们的这个影响。
They want to see an end to this.
I don't see the point of carrying on the conversation any further.
I will not continue if you want to keep talking about this. Okay, please leave.
Not gonna. No, I'm sorry, we're over.
The minister's unavailable to do an interview.
To be honest, I didn't really appreciate your email yesterday suggesting that we're hiding something. We have nothing to hide.
My name is Sarah, and thank you very much for tuning in. This is a chance for me to talk to you about my language research for the last 20 years. And I am a little bit nervous because today is the first day. I hope you'll excuse me if I make any mistakes. And here you go. So I want to look at language to show you a way of looking at language in a different manner. And of course, you know, I am being Chinese, and you will see that my perspective is a little bit different perhaps, and I hope you have the patience to take on my view. And let me see, I am still learning how to work with all these gadgets. So here I am. Thank you very much for tuning in. Again, I'm Sarah, and as you can see, I'm going to try to show you a bunch of slides, hoping that I can make my point across. And here they are. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay. What I believe is that there is only one human language, besides all the linguistic theories that we have been taught so far. And this presentation has contained more than 20 years of my research, and I'm trying to show you a different perspective, you know, and looking at human language as a female traveler from the East. Of course, when I say that, that means I'm versus male academic and pure Western view. And what I have been doing is not only breaking a code, I think I'm also breaking a protocol. I remember I tried to talk to a lot of people regarding my research, and because of my face, because of my gender, mostly I get ignored, whenever I try to talk to anyone. So my perspective is trying to shift from the Euro-Centric one to an Eastern one, and perhaps you have patience with me, you will be able to look at things differently, and things might sound differently to you, and then all the chronology that we were taught as all lineal would be a little bit different, and then writing might begin to take on a different form. And of course, as I said, it's a woman's perspective, because I believe that women make up roughly about half the human population, and did we really stay mute for tens and thousands of years without participating, and have the men missed seeing something that women can see, or actually do our views count? And I'm actually proposing to have an integrated view, about language itself, because if you think carefully, all those weaving, trailing have been done by women. So all this knowledge has to be passed on by women verbally from generation to generation. So it's impossible that those tons of expressions, had never been recorded as a language. So as you watch along, you will see that women actually write in a different way. And in this research, I have to tell you that I use a different base in sound, and because Chinese has different dialects, and most of the linguists will be using Mandarin as the base, but since I am from Hong Kong, and we speak a dialect called Cantonese, which is much older than Mandarin, and as you talk to any Chinese, anybody will tell you that all the dialects would be more ancient. But still, having said that, I didn't say that Mandarin is new. And I will also use Mandarin sound to show you how the mutation of sound, within Chinese itself. And interesting enough, the internal differences of the same language, can be actually greater than across other languages. What I have found out in my more than 20 years of research is that the mutation of sound within Chinese is actually very similar to the mutation between Hebrew and Arabic, or German and English. For example, the hard G, G sound, all change will be mutated to the J, to the soft G, which is a J sound. The G will be changed to a J, and vice versa. And how I have been doing this is by living very simple life. By living very simple, I am saying that I've been traveling around, for the last 30-something years. I live very simple. And many a time I spent with people in the mountain, in the desert, and with these people, with much less things to distract you. You only see the basics of life, and then because of that, I think it helped me to see things clearer. And I remember I spoke to a graduate student in Harvard, and I was talking to her about the importance of basket, the technology of weaving. And I remember the first reaction she looked at me with wide eye and said that, what? Baskets are very expensive stuff. And I think she forgot that wherever you go to a less developed place, wherever you go, people will be carrying tons of merchandise made of nothing but grass. And as you can see from these pictures, and seeing clearer really by living simpler. And I started to search the internet, about some basic life, on the beach, on the Western world. And interestingly, I found only images like this, and yes, they are basic, but all the material has been altered and changed. Maybe it doesn't really get you to see what really is behind everything. And finally, when I was watching a French movie, and this French family was really back to the basic, living in the beach. They were really using branches again to mount all those things, and all they have is just a mat on the floor. And I think that's the way that we learn how to see. And what I have been doing is to give a little bit push of all the accepted thinking we have been taught, and in the last 200 years, we have been enforced again and again, telling us that, writing is very, very important. But then if you look at the world, most of the people do not know how to read or write, but our human civilization flourished for thousands and thousands of years. So I don't think it can be true that writing is that important. But having said that, I'm not saying that education is not important, but education is a kind of twisted in this modern days. I think education is just supposed to help us to learn to be a good human being, nothing other than that. No one said that education is to get you a good job or anything like that. Now I think we mainly use education for another purpose. So then writing is important because you have to play that game. But then in a real sense, as a human development, writing wasn't that important. Otherwise, our ancestors won't survive for thousands of years without it. So what is the basic human survival? And I remember I was brought up in a Catholic school, and then it was actually I was taught a lot of the Bible, and because I asked so many questions that I got kicked out many times. And there was a passage that I never get to understand, and it is a passage about Jonah. And it says God, sent Jonah a shade over his head, and then he set a worm, to eat up the leaf of the plant. I used to laugh like crazy as a child, because I was thinking the wiggling worm, and that's cute, And then why is it that Jonah is saying death is better to me than life when that little worm ate up the leaves? I couldn't understand until I started traveling, and I finally know how important it is to have a mat and some shade over your head. What you see here is that when I volunteer, to help in South Yemen, in help in a flood situation, and I was taken deep into the desert, and I was visiting some veteran family, and those families are separated, far apart, and each is, when you go to their place, what you can see now is the biggest tree of the area. So all their belongings were piling up there. And if you can see it clearly, you will see that the men are actually crouching, pushing their head as close as possible to that little tree, which has very, very thin leaves. And that mat was actually put there only because of my arrival. And then I was given that little shade because I was a guest, And all these people, if you pay attention, none of them was able to sit on the ground because the ground was boiling hot. So if you look at this, you will know that before the Stone Age, there has to be some technology. I think the trailing or making of thread, the weaving of mat has to be at least side by side with Stone Age, because without those technology, no stone tools will be perfected. So as macho as the stone tools are, there has to be some soft power behind it, because without these mats, these shades that made, by putting a mat on, no civilization will begin. And so the roof and the shelter. I will show you, this is the logo of the UN Refugee Agency. You can see that, the hand was mimicking the shape of the tent. Now I'll show you some Chinese writing all about the tents. And all you can see here is actually expression of tons of different nuances of meanings, And you can see that there are in the center, two of them, that little T-shaped thing is actually, representing the tongue talking. And that's the room, giving you instruction, as that's actually this ancestral hall. And then in Sumerian, there's the same symbol. It actually means the divine property enabling cosmic activity. If you remember, even in the Bible much later, and it is God's blowing out some wind and God's word that created everything. So you know that that tongue, that air that blows out from the mouth actually meant a lot, you know, for the ancient people. And then also I want to have another jot on accepted thinking, because for years we have been taught that in alphabet is the best writing system because it's simple, it's easy. But then I have to defend a little bit of the pictograph, as you see a little bit earlier. Pictograph has certain advantage over pure sound-based writing system using alphabets. Why? Because pictograph enable you to see a lot more. And I will show you two pictures. The first one is a UNHCR, the refugee camp, gave to the refugee there. It's a tent that they have. And this is a normal Bedouin tent. For you, they look the same, but in reality, if you live inside it, they're completely two different things. The Bedouin tent is after thousands and thousands of years of testing nature. It is open in the wide side. Wind can blow through, and it's much cooler to live in. And if it's cold, I slept inside, I can have a fire burned inside. The material doesn't get burned, so it's comfortable in whatever weather. But if you live in this, since the opening is on this end, the whole thing is like an oven, you know. It's so hot inside and so dark inside. The material isn't breathable, so it's something very different. So if I have to give it, you know, writing in a pictogram format, this I will give it to this form of a tent. This one is the Chinese symbol for tranquility, symbol, peace, simple, peaceful, and settle down. For this, you can settle down as long as you like. But this one here, as you can see, is with the mat. For this one is actually carry the message of temporary lodging. And because you can anytime you can just roll up your mat and move on. And then also I want to reject this accepted thinking of the tree-like the linguists present the tree-like concept of a language family, because as long as there is a tree, then there are hierarchy and there will be discrimination. It actually sets the tone for all kinds of discrimination, and that's why I call this program the basket starfish. And as you can see from the beginning, the basket starfish has only one core, and all the branches came out just as members of the same core. So we are all equal. No one is above the other. And the other thing I want you to think is that cultural exchanges and word exchanges never goes one way in one direction in a lineal format. They are always cyclical. It's always give and take. So there's not always a higher culture give to the lower culture, and so on and so forth. We always learn from each other. So here is an example I give you about language fluxes. And this is the Sumerian symbol for a shrine in a temple. And because of the limit of the cuneiform, it is a square. But you can actually imagine it as the round form, as you can see in the Middle East now, you know, the mosque. And there's always a round dome shape, but inside you'll always find water, which is the source of life, you know. But pay attention to the pronunciation. It's soak. And then there is a Chinese sign, exactly what I showed you before. This is what Chinese write as soak or sao. And for us, it means a residence, a lodging, stay overnight. Remember, it always carries an undertone of temporary staying. Okay, this is Hebrew, suk. And if you are Jewish, then I think you are very familiar with the word Sukkot. Suk and Sukkot actually comes from the same root. And it is the hut and the booth. And every year the Sukkot is the Jewish people, you know, remember when they were living in the wild. So they would go back and build a tent and lived in there. And the second word you see here actually pronounced the same as suk. And then, as usual, they also need a visual difference, you know. And actually it means fence hatching. So basically they mean a nuance of the same meaning. And then, and you will see that the Arabic word, there is the suk. And I'm sure you know this word. This simply means market. So why from this shrine to temple to the lodging until to the marketplace? Because they were actually all the same. If you go to the eastern part of the world now, and whenever there is a temple gathering, people will be coming from all over different area, and they will be staying temporarily in that area. And in the old days, they will be camping, of course, you know. They will be staying there, and it will be a temporary town. And that's what this soak came to be. And they all mean a little bit different, but they all circling around the same thing. And if I take out the Arabic souk as an example, and then you will see the market town. As you can see, this is the old type of market town, which you can actually stay inside. As we modernize this part of the town, is actually, you know, you can come and go as you like. You no longer stay overnight. But then again, you know, whenever there is a temple festival, a mosque, a religious festival, I would say, you know, all over the world, you know, whatever religion it is, that temporarily the whole town will turn into a big marketplace. And what about a full circle? And for English, if you say souk, however you spell it, it means a market in your head. It means something exotic. But how about a farmer's market in your head? Then I will show you what you will see in a farmer's market. Don't you see the same thing? It is exactly the same thing. Nothing has ever changed. And then, but I want you to pay attention to the word market this time. Either the souk and the market, they are the same word. And then they said that the market comes from the Arabic word mekas. And Hebrew has the same word mekas. And then what is a marketplace? But it's on the street, a meeting point for people, a crossroad, a nexus, an axis, a pivot, and a center. And then all this meaning you can find in the German Gas, which, remember, Gas, okay? And Gas means a small street. And then the whole old High German is Gas. And then Chinese, we have this sign from the ancient time, 3,000 something years ago. And then the pronunciation is Gai, Gie, Kie. It all means the street. And now when we say a market, it is Gai Si. Can you hear it? Gas and Gai Si. Or the other way we say a street is Gai Do. And let me bring out the Latin word. The old Latin word cardo actually means a pivot. A pivot is actually where everything turns and meets. And cardo in an old ancient Roman town also means the north and south pointing street is a cardo. And then the Spanish will be calle. And French, however you spell it, you don't trust your visual thing, it's pronounced as que. And then the Greek will have their chiasma. Can you see the X right there as a visual symbol? And then if I chase back from the Greek to the linear B, and you can see the symbol of that familiar symbol that uses a syllable ka. And actually you can look at it in many different ways, you know, because it's a very ambiguous symbol. But actually it shows you the ka as a center. And actually the cardiac, the heart thing, the word came from that symbol. And then in hieroglyph, that's a symbol of a town. And then in Akkadian, you see this is Kash. And you see it's very similar to the Chinese, sign. And then this is Sumerian Cuneiform. And then this is the earlier pictorial form. And if you see this Kash, and this Gai Si, and this is Gas. Can you hear the sound never change? In our head, it's all the same on the street where we meet. And until this now, the X as is used in the Greek here, it is for the Greek to know what they are talking about. It is a marker of a hub, a nexus. And of course, you can also show it in that way as the Egyptian, or you can show it like this in any map. Or even if you pay attention, this sign, even the construction worker will spray it on the ground to mark a point where they have to drill down on the floor, on the ground. So nothing has changed. So now I want you to see, what a basket starfish is. And so what I'm trying to say is that we all share a common core. This is the very key evidence of that. We have all something the same. And the modern linguists pay far too much attention on the grammar. For me, grammar separates us like any other local habit. It's just like this area like to wear a hat. I don't want to wear a hat, and that's it. And nothing more than that. But the core word, they're always similar. And so this is the key of our non-stop communication. As you can see from my last slide, a full circle, because we circle back and forth. It has never changed. It also shows that our communication has never stopped. And I'll show you another example of how writing confuses sound. And everybody knows what this is. It's like a belly, right? And you don't get the power of the water until you walk to the desert, and where there is water, it does make a big difference. And I'll show you Chinese, writing, This for us, it is what? What does it mean? It means a depression, a dense, overgrown, a green area. Actually, it always means something near a valley. And then because it's too difficult to write, as time goes by, we actually borrow another word, but with the same spelling, but same writing, the same sound. And then it actually means the crooked band flags. And when you come to the source of the river, you always have to turn back. And then this is a map of Hong Kong. Pay attention to the word what. And the what is actually exactly what you will see. This is the kind of thing you should expect whenever you see that word. Okay, what will you see in Arabic? Is what or wadi, which means valley. In Hebrew, it will be like this. But then it still sounds the same, wadi or vadi. And then in French, again, the spelling is very confusing. It pronounces wet. It's a wadi. And English, your word wet, and also wet, of course, is a wet, is a valley.